And I don't know if either of these Old Firm sides right now are strong enough to deal with it, withstand the pressure that's coming on them. And today's results and performances would certainly suggest they're really struggling with it. I mean, I know that you were keeping an eye on the Celtic game, Dan. I was keeping an eye on the Rangers game. And Rangers didn't play well. You know, they turned up. I thought they looked a bit lackadaisical. I've seen this performance, you know, on more than several occasions, where they just turn up, they sort of go through the motions. The stats will tell you, by the way, that they were bombarding Livingston, and the Livi keeper, who was terrific. He should have been playing with a red cape on today. But Rangers, there was a lack of urgency, a lethargy about them again, and it's not the first time, and it usually happens when they've got themselves into a position where they might be able to go and do something. And it was no surprise to me that they ended up 2 goals down. Then they were kind of just throwing everything at it. Danny Rohl was throwing everything on from the bench. I couldn't tell you what formation they ended up playing. They might argue late on that they should have had a penalty kick. We can talk about that. But Rangers didn't come away from Livingston with any more than what their performance deserved today. And this is at a crucial point in the season. And they're turning up against the team that looks already doomed for relegation, and they can't get a win. What does that tell you about title credentials? But again, there's nothing you can say definitively here, because who knows what's coming next.
Yeah. Well, look, we've got tons of comments coming in already. If you're watching at home and you want to get involved and let us know what you think of the Premiership weekend, please do. We'll start with Rangers then, since we're talking about it. Let's have a look. Craig Marshall is staying positive. He says, from 2 goals down to claw back a draw, fighting mentality on a difficult surface. Although not everyone...
That certainly is glass half full.
Exactly. Martin Booth says, missing the point. We should never be 2 goals down, especially not to the worst team in the league by a country mile. Manager picked the wrong team and the wrong tactics. Livi can only be tackled one way. Fast direct football with crosses into the box and 2 centre forwards. This one from Scott says, Rangers away form will cost them. Hearts are slight favourites. A win for Rangers next Sunday will probably end Celtic's title hopes. The Celt says, Motherwell for the league then. Craigie says, a must-win game next week for Celtic, but a draw would suit Hearts. And AF Scott says, hell of a weekend for Hearts and Motherwell. Motherwell have to fancy getting to second based on today. And there's lots of comments coming in about Celtic as well. I will get to them. But aye, Rangers pretty damned in the comments, it looks like.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Motherwell, the people talking about Motherwell, I find really interesting. That's another thing we've done in the paper for tomorrow, is the old Monday jury. And one of the questions is, should we be taking Motherwell more seriously now? Look at the way they performed Paisley on Saturday night.
People can say St Mirren, and they are, you know, having a
bad
but
nobody goes to Paisley and does that.
Nobody goes there and hammers them. Nobody.
Yeah. And I've floated this idea, Daniel, that I would not be astonished if Motherwell were to win all 5 post-split matches.
I wouldn't bet against it, eh?
And I don't know where that's going to leave them. Where might it take them? Because if you've got Hearts and Celtic and Rangers all kind of clubbing each other to death, trying to get, you know, concentrating this league title and kind of effectively taking points out of each other, kicking lumps out of each other, Motherwell can just float away there. And they've been so impressive. So my answer to the question was, they absolutely deserve to be taken seriously. It might be a long shot for them to claw back, 10 points, game in hand. The lead that Hearts have over them right now. So it is a long shot. But see, this season, nothing is impossible. And Motherwell, you know, continue to play the best, most attractive football in the country by some considerable distance. So, honestly, Dan, I mean, it is head scrambling. This whole thing is head scrambling, and you just don't know what's coming next. To get back to Rangers, Danny Rohl, I agree with the comments there. Obviously, Ryan Nadiri has been struggling. I think they said that he didn't train through the week. Rangers, I don't know. They just lack conviction, and I think a big worry for the Rangers supporters as well is that Skov Olsen, he's got hooked again at half time. Played in the fringes of the game. He's the guy that I think and with good reason. People were looking at going that this guy could be a difference maker in the title race.
I thought that.
But he's not really get started. He's really not get started now. Whether he's just, and there will be a rustiness there because he hadn't played a lot of football. Whether he doesn't like plastic pitches, I don't know. You wouldn't have thought that would be necessarily the case, given that he's Scandinavian. But no, he was miles off it, and so then Rangers have to make changes at the interval, and he went with Mikey Moore in one wing and Gassam on the other. And then he threw on Majowski to play sort of in and around Chermiti. That didn't work either. And actually, the more changes that were made as the second half went on, as I said, it really looked a little bit like he's throwing muck at the wall and seeing what sticks. I'm sure that he went and he did say that he took off a defender, went to basically one centre half, Fernandez, covering in when Suter went off the pitch. It was to get more bodies on up, further up the pitch. But when one of these guys is Thelo Asgard, I'm just struggling with the logic. And it's not the first time this season that Danny Rohl has made changes which haven't necessarily made Rangers any better. And I know that's going to sound daft because they come back from 2 goals down, they got their 2 goals and they go away with a point in the end. But it was a very confusing afternoon, and Rangers looked confused by their own performance. And Danny Rohl probably a bit confused as well. But the bottom line is, Dan, we're talking, the away results for Rangers, the last 3 away games, they've got 3 points, they've dropped 6. And you can't do that when you're in a title race. You just can't. Because had Rangers taken all those points, away to Hibs, away to Motherwell, 10-man Motherwell, remember, and away to Livingston, well, it speaks for itself where what the league table would look like right now. So Rangers don't look sure of themselves away from home. Far from it. And I think, if I'm right, 5 of their next 10 are away from home.
I think you're right about that, yeah.
Well, if they continue, if this is extrapolated, this away form extrapolates out over that period, Rangers are going to be waving goodbye to this sooner rather than later.
And one's at Tynecastle, one's at Celtic Park. Look, plenty, a million comments coming in, and I will try and get to all of them. Just to finish on Rangers, William Lang says Gassama's like a man down, plus it was the same high ball into the box. In the name of the wee man is one of a few people asking why were Rangers not awarded a penalty for a clear foul on Moore in the box. And Bengal says Rangers could have scored 5, couple of great saves by the keeper. The problem is we have no options if our decent players are off it.